Happy Monday. It's me, Jerry, and it's time for another garden update. Welcome back. So today we got some stuff to share with you, all right? Of course, we've got our tour. I also planted up some tomato seedlings, so I'm hoping to work that in. I incorporated a new seedling mix, and so I really want to share that with you, and hopefully that'll be in today's video. If not, it'll be in another video this week. But I've also got the August 1st planting schedule for you and what you can plant from August 15th on, because they're really kind of button up to being two completely different planting sections right there, because at the first part of the month we're going to get to plant a little bit of stuff from the summer, a little bit of stuff that we've been able to plant, but then as we move over into August 15th, things are going to change up completely, because that's when our fall garden is going to get to come in. So I'm excited to share all this with you, and I hope that you are excited about going forward this weekend. I pulled a lot of stuff out of the bed. You're going to see I cleared out a lot of stuff, and what's left is got to suck it up and either handle this heat or not. So let's get going with the tour, and then I'll catch back up with you in the house and share with you the planting guides for August 1st and August 15th. So see you in a minute. So bed one is looking dramatically different, and obviously I've taken the shade off of it. You can see that all the okra really lushing out, and when I planted this okra, it was meant to be so that things below it would have some shade, and I had to just really tear apart a lot to do with the tomatillas, and I'm okay with the Armenian stand, but the tomatilla was just taking over so bad. A lot of the things that I planted down there, like, you know, that squash and another squash over there, just weren't having a good life, and I don't know where they're gonna do, but now I'd rather the okra, you know, be happy. And yesterday I cut like 3 or 4 off, and they're just ready to rock now. So you know, it's time to clean things out, and it's not like the tomatillas were big producers. I think that the Armenian will recover from the severage that I put it through, and I got 2 big Armenians off of that. There's a little wild Texas cherry from this volunteer that I kind of looped into there, and I found this watermelon up here yesterday, but I accidentally took off its mama. So but this is bed 1, and I'm okay, like I said, because now this means I got room to plant some stuff, so I can go in here under my canopy of okra, and when we get into August 15th, we can get some stuff going in there. These tomatoes especially are still, you know, looking decent and hanging in there. These 3 right here, or 4, my husband says these need to be moved over closer to the window, but I think I might even move them over, you know, over there by the fence where the other ones are at. Down here with the little babies, it's not easy to see because they're so little, but you'll see right here in a second the video where I planted these up, but these are all my little tomato seedlings that I've got going, and so I'm happy to see some of them start to peek out. Like I said, they're so little because they're mostly small tomatoes, but happy with that. I also went into bed 2 over here and took out, you know, all this craziness. I'm just kind of over watering stuff that isn't really about life, and so there's that 1 tomato, and most of the seedlings that I put over here look pretty decent. I mean, this one is a little but that one's okay, and that one's okay, and I took that thing that's never done anything in life out, and this Armenian is still kind of doing stuff. I'm so excited about this tall Cosmo. This is almost about to my belly button how tall it is, and that's the crazy thing, is when I first grew them, they only got this tall in the fall, but they can actually get to be 3 foot tall, and so there's a great example of that. This pumpkin's happy. That one's just still barely coming up. That's one of our zinnias right there, and not any of the other flowers have come up yet. And over here, I guess 2 pumpkins actually came up from what we planted there, and then there's one. and another zinnia down there. I finally got some work done. I cut the oregano back to right here, and I took out most of the lemon thyme, but I left a little bit to see if maybe it would come back. I still want to do some more work with the mint and see, because these two tomatoes are still holding on with life, and so that's why I'm thinking I might move a couple of those over here. I cleared out some buckets, and I'm happy about that because I'm going to use these for the fall. My pigeon pea is still holding on. I need to get it planted in the ground, and there's a crazy strawberry. Okay, so the collard, I can't find my big shears right now to take this down, because otherwise some little caterpillar worm is just eating it alive. And so, but another reason why I haven't been so fired up about going and getting and cutting it down is because, if you remember from my bug video, if everything's coming over here and eating this and leaving everything else alone, then okay, eat that, you know, because I'm not caring about that anymore. I told you I was going to take all the leaves off this, and I did. Look at this one, it's doing nice, and I know this one's going to start coming back, and I'm just trying to stay on top of all the little random nights that keep wanting to come up in here. And I'm still letting this butternut that has now made its third leg back over here. So this is the end of it now. So it goes from up here all the way to there, circles around, comes back to here, goes through this tomato cage, and then back out the back. So hopefully it will be worth it to have taken care of this thing for so long, and it will give me some butternuts. But yeah, that's basically what this bed is a couple of okra plants and this giant butternut and that tomato that hopefully will start producing once it cools off. The sweet potatoes are still going crazy. Dale found a hornworm on this tomato yesterday that was pretty fat. So we're trying to keep up with what's eating tomatoes over here, but you know, things are still trying to vine out of the bed. And there's a quick glance of the pumpkins. We'll update on that this week. But there's our little garden tour. This is all the oregano that I took down. I'm just going to kind of let it dry here, and then I'm going to hang it up and get it dry and roll evenly. I wasn't really happy with the seedling mix that I had for what I did in the winter. It was mostly like peat moss and some compost, and I think that was kind of it. And I just didn't like the way it worked. So I'm kind of modeling this new one after Steven Cornett, Nature's Always Right, and Kevin from Epic Gardening did a video on making a seedling starter. So it's like it's really a third part fresh compost, a third part perlite, a third part of peat moss, and then like a handful of azomite, which I need to go grab that, a handful of kelp, and some fresh worm tea. I'm using worm gold just because it's what I have on hand, and I don't have any fresh worm tea right now, so I might do a little bit of really watered down weak fish emulsion later on. But I'm hoping that you know, this is going to help hold water a little bit, but this is going to let some water move through and make it more loose, and this is going to give our seedlings some nutrients. And because it's so muggy and humid outside, I'm actually going to do this just here inside. And so I never let a third part of anything mess me up. I just decide whatever my constant measuring value is going to be, and for this it's going to be this right here. It's like a 3-quart container. So I'm just going to get you know, 1 full bucket of this, 1 full bucket of this, and 1 full bucket of this. And then I always save my bags when I, you know, so this is an old worm gold bag. So I'm just gonna mix everything up and mix it and keep it in this bag here, and then kind of use it as I need it. You can kind of see in this bag that my peat moss kind of got dried out, so it's got some clumps in it. And for a seedling mix, you really want it to be as fine as possible. So after I got this first little dump of peat moss in here, I just want to come along and make everything be really loose like that. So I'm just double checking any of my big pieces in here, because the whole point of changing up my mix is to have a looser mix, and I don't want some, you know, hard chunk of sphagnum peat moss to block one of my roots from going down. Okay, so I've got that looking real good, and now I actually went outside and poured this, so don't worry, because this can sometimes throw up enough dust outside to choke a person out. And so I'm gonna put this in next, and I'm just gonna kind of put the whole container in there and not move it until it's in there. And then kind of close the bag up around it. And then now we've got that layer in there. And now we just need our worm castings, and I gotta go grab a handful of azomite. If you're using a 5-gallon bucket as your 3-part, that's probably when you want to use a whole handful of azomite, but I've got this in a little container from sprinkling around my plants, and so I'm going to just use about that much, because a little goes a long way. But this is an awesome trace mineral that you can add to your soil or a starter mix like this. So now we just need the worm gold, and now we just got to mix it. So I'm gonna stand my bag up and kind of move it around till I get a good mix. So that looks good and mixed up, and it actually already feels so nice and soft. So I'm just gonna go in and fill up my planter cups, and I might have to go add some more soil to these, because once I water them in really good, they're probably gonna, you know, lose a little bit of their surface. But I'm already excited about this mix, because after I mixed it around several times in the bag, I just put my hand in and made sure that I didn't find any unmixed spots, and it already feels super moist inside this bag. So I'm excited about this being a good blend for us. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what you can plant from August 1st, and then what you can plant from August 15th going forward. So here's a look at what we've got going on in August. Corn, beans, and carrots. This arrow means that these things can actually be planted all throughout the month of August. We've also got green onions. You can continue to plant pumpkins. You could also still put in some tomatoes, but you're only going to want to put transplants of tomatoes in at this time. Now, if you started seeds for some of your tomatoes, say after July 15th, and they're in little containers, those are your transplants, okay? So don't look at them as too young of a seedling to be working with. And then we're gonna get another chance at some winter squash, as well as black-eyed peas. Now we're gonna talk about what we can plant from August 15th going forward. So this is actually going to give us a chance to get a couple of things from the summer, but also a chance for us to get into planting our fall crop. And we always want to thank Angela with growinginthegarden.com for putting together this awesome list and showing it to all of us on Instagram and Facebook. She's also got a new post up on growinginthegarden.com where you can read a little bit more about this planting season that we're about to go into. I'll put a link to her website down in the description, but I'm so glad that she does this so that it's one thing that I don't have to sit down and prepare for us each month. So we're grateful for Angela. Now let's talk about our fall garden. Like I said, we're gonna get to pick up one of the things from our summer garden, and that's the summer squash. And I'm pretty excited about that because, you know, I've got the one rogue butternut out there, but I'd love to have a chance at a couple of the summer squashes again. But I know from last year that if you don't get it in by August 15th, it's gonna be way too late for it to actually go in your garden. So if you want some more summer squash, get that going. Otherwise, going into our fall gardens, we're going to get to plant our Brussels sprouts and turnips and broccoli and calabrese and cauliflower, collard greens, cucumbers. And this is again another summer vegetable, like the market more cucumbers, not just the Armenians that we've been limited to all summer long. This is going to give us another chance at one of those summer vegetables along with the summer squash. They're also going to get to bring in the bok choy, cabbage, celery, kale, and chard. Now, a couple of things that I've come to really appreciate is giving my seeds a little bit of a soak, whether I'm going to be setting up transplants for a future plant or whether I'm going to go put it directly in the garden. And I do know that from like all the other seeds that I soaked that popped up really fast, when I didn't soak so much were the pumpkin seeds. And some of the pumpkin seeds came right up and some of them were a little bit slower. So one thing I would say is that you can always use a small cup of water or several cups, you know, if you're doing a lot of different kinds of seeds. Just drop your seeds in there, let them soak overnight, and you know, then they'll be ready to plant up however you're looking to. My favorite thing to do in addition, especially if I'm doing several seeds, I use the cup method. I think you saw last week, or maybe today you'll see where I set up the tomato seeds that I had going. I just put them in little cups of water. Now, when I'm about to go into doing all of these seeds for the winter, I'm probably going to bring back in my coffee filters. And so what I do with the coffee filters, just like you would with a paper towel, is I just take one of the coffee filters and I write along the top here what the seed is. I drop some seeds down in here, I fold it in half, and I mist this really good. And then I keep all of my seedlings in a germination bag. And typically throughout, like when I was setting up my spring seedlings, I would keep this under a heating mat. But because it's so warm right now, as I get this bag filled up, I'm just gonna leave it out on the patio table and maybe cover it with a towel just to keep the seeds from being exposed to sunlight. But that's how I'm going to kind of fast track getting some of my seeds to soften up, sprout a little bit, and hopefully be more open to growing once they actually get into their final resting spot. So I hope that having a clue as to what you can get going, obviously this is like, we've got I think 2, maybe 3 more days of this month. So you've got a couple of days to get some stuff ready for that August 1st planting, because we're getting to where the planting guidelines are gonna get much more strict. Like this is the last time you'll see cucumber and summer squash come up on your list. So I hope this gives you a chance to get some preparations, maybe run out to the seed library and get some seeds that you haven't tried for the fall and winter, or get, I don't know if you've got any time to order some, but you can always go to a big box or a nursery and get some seeds too. But let's get on that next stage of planting in our fall winter garden and a little bit more of the summer garden here in our August planting. Well, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the tour. The tour was so short and there's not a lot going on right now. We're just kind of running triage in our little ICU for the plants that we're trying to keep going. And this afternoon, I'm so pumped to get out here and start figuring out where I'm going to put my seeds. I want to say that I'm get out my chart and figure everything out that way, but I feel like I'm just going to start poking seeds in the ground, some today, some tomorrow. That way I don't get caught up in missing August 1st. But I hope everything today was super helpful for you. I'm always so grateful that you make time to come back here when you get a chance, and I just hope you have the best day ever, and we'll catch up with you next time.